But there is more to come. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Hello, kids. Did you know a year has 31,557 and 600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 and 25 days in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap year. When you multiply all these numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are having fun.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the bulletin. Now to the Ugandan story. Pressure is mounting on the Ugandan government to release opposition leader Dr. Kizza Besigye, lawyer Aaron Kizza, and Haj Obed Lutale. Human rights groups, including Amnesty International and the Law Society of Kenya, are planning a protest march to the Ugandan High Commission in Nairobi on February 21st, demanding justice. Meanwhile, international voices, including Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland, have also condemned the detentions, calling them a violation of democratic principles. President Yoweri Museveni has responded to the growing outcry, questioning Besigye defense and assuring the public that he is receiving medical attention. Let's take a listen. Pressure is mounting on the Ugandan government to release opposition leader Kizza Besigye, lawyer Aaron Kizza, and Haj Obed Lutale. Human rights groups, including Amnesty International and the Law Society of Kenya, have announced a protest march to the Ugandan High Commission in Nairobi on February 21st to demand justice.
We are calling all the health workers, that is in Tanzania, in Uganda, and even in Kenya, and all the citizens, that it's not right to hold or to detain any person who is fighting for the rights. And for this case, somebody who was abducted in Kenya. We are saying that there are professional ethics that take charge of all the health workers. And in this case, it has been reported that his health is also deteriorating. He's also being denied access to health care, yet he's a healthcare provider.
I would like to implore for the East Africans and the citizens in particular to understand that we need to unite against such abductions, because leaders have to understand to be critical, to be a political opposition member is not a crime.
International voices are also being heard. Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland has also weighed in, criticizing the continued detention as a violation of democratic principles and Uganda's commitment under the Commonwealth Charter. She urged authorities to release the detainees and ensure medical care for Dr. Besigye. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has responded to the growing outcry via social media platform X, questioning why Besigye was arrested in the first place. Museveni acknowledged that the Supreme Court ruling had slowed down the trial process as it required civilian courts to take over such cases. In a direct statement, Museveni challenged Besigye's defense, saying, and I quote, "If you are innocent, why do you not demand for a quick trial so that you can prove your innocence and expose those who are persecuting you, instead of demanding bail, forgiveness, as if serious crime is also entitled to holidays. End of quote. Regarding Besigye's health, Museveni assured the public that he was receiving proper medical attention. He stated, and I also quote, "There is a government hospital in the prison, and his personal doctors have been allowed to visit and take him to private clinics if necessary." Dr. Besigye and Mr. Lutale were allegedly abducted from Nairobi on November 16, 2024, and resurfaced 4 days later before Uganda's General Court Martial, where they were charged with security-related offenses and unlawful possession of firearms. Red groups have condemned their trial in a military court, citing a Supreme Court ruling on January 31st, 2025, which declared such proceedings unconstitutional. Despite the ruling, Ugandan authorities have continued detaining the political figures, fueling concerns about increasing repression ahead of the 2026 elections. Dr. Besigye, who has been on a hunger strike for nearly a week now, is reportedly in deteriorating health. Susan Nganga, GBS News. The ruling has started today for Kizza Besigye and his co-accused at the High Court. We'll keep you more updated on this story as it develops. Now, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is facing serious charges of attempted coup after his defeat in the 2022 elections. The 69-year-old has been accused of plotting to poison his successor, President Luiz, and targeting Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes. Bolsonaro denies the allegations, calling them politically motivated. As the charges are said to be reviewed by the Brazil Supreme Court, the political future of the country is at a critical juncture. Triza Tiengo now reports.
Former Brazilian President Bolsonaro has been officially charged by the country's chief prosecutor with attempting to overthrow the government following his defeat in the 2022 presidential election. The 69-year-old former leader faces 5 charges related to a bid to prevent his successor, President Luiz, from assuming office after the fiercely contested election. These charges include an alleged plot to poison Lula and the targeting of Supreme Court Justice Alexandra. Bolsonaro, however, denies all allegations, claiming that he is the victim of political persecution by the current administration. The prosecutor's recommendation will now be reviewed by the Brazilian Supreme Court, which will decide whether the charges move forward, and if accepted, Bolsonaro, along with 33 other individuals, could face formal charges and a trial. Bolsonaro was banned from running for office for 8 years after making baseless claims about election fraud. His supporters stormed government buildings in January 2023, leading to over 1,500 arrests. In the months following the attack, federal police released a report implicating Bolsonaro in the alleged planning of a coup, including discussions with military figures about preventing Lula's ascension to power. The report claims that Bolsonaro led a criminal organization responsible for undermining democratic processes and attempting to overturn the result of elections. Despite being banned from running for president, Bolsonaro remains a strong political figure, and the outcome of the trial could influence Brazil's political future, particularly amid rising discontent within President Lula's administration. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Rapper ASAP Rocky, whose real name is Rakim Myers, has been acquitted of 2 felony assault charges related to an incident involving a firearm. The jury in Los Angeles reached their verdict on February 18, 2025, after a 3-week trial that centered on allegations that Rocky shot at his former friend, Terren Efron, also known as ASAP Rally, during a confrontation on November 6, 2021. ASAP Rocky faced 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, which could have resulted in a maximum sentence of 24 years in prison if convicted. The altercation occurred while both men were reportedly trying to resolve personal issues. Efron claimed that Rocky fired shots during their dispute, with one bullet grazing his knuckles. Rocky's defense maintained that the firearm was a prop gun used for security purposes and not a real weapon. They argued that Efron was motivated by financial gain and jealousy. Notably, the prosecution did not present the actual firearm as evidence during the trial.
I really want to thank the jury for making the right decision, you know, and I'm just so thankful. This is crazy right now. This whole experience has been crazy for the past 4 years, but I'm thankful. Nonetheless, I'm thankful, and we're blessed to be here right now, to be a free man talking to y'all. Thank you. All praise to God.
The situation in Bukavu, a key city in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, has taken a devastating turn as M23 rebels, backed by Rwanda, have captured the city amid chaotic scenes. The United Nations and the European Union have voiced alarm over the escalation of violence, while local residents are left grappling with widespread looting and insecurity. Erin Juguna has more on that scene.
In the ongoing conflict in the eastern DRC, M23 fighters, along with the Rwandan-backed troops, have seized control of Bukavu, a major city in the South Kivu province. The takeover, which has left the city in turmoil, marks another significant territorial gain for the M23 rebels since their insurgency began in late 2021. Unlike the situation in Goma, where similar events unfolded, Bukavu experienced a very different atmosphere on the day of the takeover. Vendors were seen selling fruits, traffic continued on the streets, and people were moving about.
The M23 troops who entered do not bother anyone. You can pass them and they will not stop you or ask for any identity.
However, as the M23 forces advanced into the center of the city, chaos erupted. The United Nations and European Union have expressed deep concern about the deteriorating situation, which has displaced hundreds of thousands of people and raised the possibility of a wider regional conflict. The M23 rebels, who had already taken control of several key positions in the region, now control Bukavu, threatening to further destabilize an already fragile region. The situation continues to evolve, and local authorities have urged residents to stay inside for their own safety. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Thank you for staying with us. We have covered some important stories today, but there is more to come. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
So before I introduce our guest, our amazing guest for today, we have a very short clip for you guys. Hapa tutakuonesha pencil art, how to draw a portrait ya dem. Check this out.
Manze, me, I go by the name of Mike MG. I'm an artist, stroke rapper, stroke shrapper, stroke trapper. Yeah.
So hata before we start, wazazi wako walisemaje about your music? Did they support you? Good.
I'm still young, need some guns, need some insight. Kuserereka tutadunda will be hell of a night. Autopilot zitashika will be on my flight. The sativa devil's ladies made me high like a kite.
So do you think msanii pia anafaa ku cloud chase ndio talent yake ionekane, ama inafaa kuwa only talent?
Go for Fenagito, I'd go for Octopizzo.
Octopizzo.
And I'd go for P-Unit.
Oh.
P-Unit as a whole. Okay. Wakiwa group.
CY Kiki.
Yes,
fresh. Hebu niambie ulikuwa unafikiria nini ukitengeneza hiyo video?
Kienda Music Festival nilikuwa nafanya mafoka. Mafoka ilikuwa performance ya kurap na Kiswahili.
What? Okay.
Yeah. Ni kama shairi lakini ni rap. Lazima ikuwe na articulate message. Yeah, hadi tukafika finali huko Kasa.
Welcome everyone. It's your girl Alice and this is GBS TV Art Club, the best art show in Eastern Africa.
what is the biggest challenge that you face as an aspiring filmmaker? So,
First biggest challenge is still financial. Finance problem. Especially as young filmmakers, you're trying to navigate something for the first time, and there is a lot of pressure from the people in the game.
You people, you don't take it like let's say it's not like a challenge, like
It comes all round.
Like he's just challenging you to do better. Like you try to improve what you feel like you're not doing it in the right way.
This pressure comes with the challenge. First and foremost is the resources, is the finance that comes with it, because at the end of the day, as long as you're trying to create films, you're trying to improve your quality with time. Because at the end of the day, you see, competition is, for example, just in the music industry. You know, you might find yourself being in the industry and you quit. Not that you can't do it, not that you can't see or you're not seeing or taking it as a challenge, as something to boost you up. But sometimes it can come and overweight. The challenge becomes too hard to bear.
Everywhere, GBS.
Hamas has proposed to release all captives remaining in the Gaza Strip in one go, in exchange for a lasting truce and a complete Israel army withdrawal from the besieged enclave. In a statement on Wednesday, Hamas spokesperson Hazem Qassem outlined the group's vision for the second phase of the ceasefire deal, which includes the proposed exchange. The group also rejected Israel's calls for its disarmament and removal from the Strip. Qassem also addressed the group's decision to increase the number of captives to be freed during the next swap on Saturday from 3 to 6. The decision was announced by Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya a day earlier in an apparent bid to accelerate the implementation of the phase 2 of the deal. The proposal comes after United States President Donald Trump spoke out against the phased weekly release of the captives taken from Israel, and after families of those remaining in Gaza call for all of them to be free together. We'll keep you more updated on the ceasefire deal as it develops. Now, a Washington, D.C. judge has delivered a significant ruling regarding the powers of Elon Musk's controversial government efficiency department, known as DOGE. The judge has refused to block the department's ability to fire federal workers and access sensitive government records, despite concerns raised by several states about Musk's authority. Erin Juguna has more.
In a major legal decision, a Washington, D.C. judge ruled on Tuesday that Elon Musk's government efficiency department, DOGE, can continue to fire federal employees and access sensitive government data. This decision comes after a lawsuit was filed by Democratic attorneys general from 14 states who argued Musk's department lacked the legal authority to take such actions. The lawsuit claimed that Musk, the CEO of Tesla, was wielding powers typically reserved for officials confirmed by the U.S. Senate. They argued the mass firings and access to sensitive government systems should only be directed by someone nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Musk's department, DOGE, has already made significant cuts, eliminating thousands of federal jobs and dismantling various programs since its creation under President Donald Trump's administration. The states raised concerns over mosque authority, noting that the department has not been authorized by Congress and there's no oversight of its actions. The judge agreed that the authority must calls appears unchecked, but stated that the states had not provided enough evidence to immediately block Doge's actions. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
Pope Francis has been diagnosed with double pneumonia, which is pneumonia affecting both lungs, further complicating his treatment for a respiratory infection. The Vatican announced a diagnosis stating that a chest CT scan revealed the condition requiring additional drug therapy. The Pope's condition is described as complex due to a polymicrobial infection of the respiratory tract along with bronchiectasis and asthmatic bronchitis. The Israeli government will commence the second phase of the ceasefire negotiation for Hamas to release the Israeli hostages alongside Palestinian detainees. The second phase of the ceasefire is supposed to be held before the first phase of ceasefire ends on 2nd of March. Meanwhile, the Israeli government announced partial military presence in southern Lebanon. The deadline for the withdrawal was today. Furthermore, the Lebanese government have categorized Israeli military presence in the country as an occupation. Here's more on that scene.
Today, the Israeli government have stated that the talks regarding the second phase of the ceasefire negotiations will commence. The second phase of the ceasefire deal will involve the release of more Israeli hostages held by Hamas, as well as the release of Palestinian detainees in Israeli prisons. Gideon Sa'ar, the foreign minister, stated that Gaza should be fully demilitarized from having military weapons, signaling Israel might not move forward unless Hamas is dismantled. The second phase of the ceasefire talks is supposed to happen weeks before the first phase ends on March 2nd.
We will begin negotiations on second phase of the hostage deal. Israel is committed to our goal to ensure the release of all our hostages. We also committed to all the objectives of the wars were decided by the Security Cabinet.
While the occupied West Bank seems to become another Gaza as civilians are becoming displaced following Israeli military conducting military raids and airstrikes in the occupied region. It's been a month since Israel began its assault in the West Bank.
They are forcing people to leave their houses. You can't even imagine the situation. The army comes and forces children, women and seniors to leave. My neighbor is 80 years old and she has a son in a wheelchair, and they forced him out.
Bulldozers can be seen demolishing homes of the Palestinian residents in Jenin and Tulkaram camps. Israel has stated that the aim of the military operation is to remove militias from the occupied territories.
I came to Noor Shams camp from Jenin with my daughter to seek shelter. We came to the camp and found that it is surrounded by the army. We are trapped and the situation is catastrophic.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, today is the deadline, a day meant for the full withdrawal of the Israeli military in southern Lebanon. The Lebanese government has warned Israel to immediately withdraw its army or risk a confrontation. The Lebanese government has stated their aim is to maintain the ceasefire and the territorial integrity, while Israel accuses Hezbollah of not fully demilitarizing. Lebanese army have been deployed.
With regard to Lebanon, as part of the ceasefire agreement in the north, the IDF will complete the withdrawal from Lebanon today. We are temporarily remaining in 5 strategic high points necessary for our security. We are completing the withdrawal despite the violations of the agreement The most basic violation is the presence of Hezbollah activists south of the Litani River. Unfortunately, it continued to be the reality. Once Lebanon fully implements its side of the deal, there will be no need to hold this point.
The Middle East is a volatile region filled with divisions and suffering. A disagreement can cause a dire humanitarian crisis like we see in Gaza, the occupied West Bank, and Lebanon. Only time will determine the region's stability. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Donald Trump has announced plans to impose tariffs on approximately 25% on imports of automobiles, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals, with a formal announcement expected as early as April 2nd, 2025. The proposed tariffs will target significant $240 billion trade route affecting major automotive brands from Germany and South Korea, as well as a semiconductor and pharmaceutical imports that are crucial to the U.S. economy. Consumers could face substantial price increases on vehicles, potentially rising by dollars due to the tariffs. Nearly half of the vehicles sold in the United States last year were imported. The tariffs may disrupt the supply chain for chips, which are predominantly manufactured in Asia. Companies like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company and South Korean firms such as Samsung could be significantly impacted. The United States is a major importer of drugs, with significant amounts coming from Europe and Asia. The new tariffs could raise costs for consumers and affect drug availability. It remains unclear whether vehicles produced under free trade agreements with Canada and Mexico will be exempt from these tariffs. Trump has expressed a desire to give affected companies time to adjust before the tariffs take full effect.
I do want to say while I'm up here, I've been contacted by some of the biggest companies in the world, and because of what we're doing economically and through tariffs and taxes and incentives, they want to come back into the United States. And we'll be announcing various very large companies, the biggest actually, and they'll be coming back, having to do with chips and having to do also with.
And that international news marks the end of our bulletin today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, same place, same time at 1 p.m. I have been your ambassador, Susan Nganga. Good afternoon.
Everywhere.